Hello everyone, welcome back to Scrubs Live. In today's lecture, we will discuss an important concept in anatomy and physiology known as homeostasis. Let's begin. Our learning objectives would be define homeostasis, explain its importance, identify components of the homeostatic control system, differentiate between negative and positive feedback mechanisms, and we will discuss examples of homeostatic regulation. What is homeostasis? So, homeostasis refers to the maintenance of a relatively stable internal body environment despite continuous changes occurring inside or outside the body. In simple words, the body is constantly working to keep internal conditions within normal ranges. For example, even when the outside temperature changes when we exercise, eat food, or become sick, our body tries to maintain a normal body temperature, a normal blood glucose level, a normal blood pressure, pH and fluid balance, etc. The word homeostasis comes from Greek word meaning similar and standing still, which means maintaining stability. Why is homeostasis important? Homeostasis is essential for life. Every cell in our body functions best under specific conditions. If these conditions change too much, cells may not work properly. So, that is why homeostasis helps maintain optimal cellular function in the body. It supports normal organ performances. It ensures survival and adaptation. It regulates body temperature, maintain blood pressure, control blood glucose levels, regulate pH balance, maintain fluid and electrolyte balance, etc. Without homeostasis, normal body functions would fail. Components of homeostatic control system. Every homeostatic mechanism consists of three major components. First is the receptor or sensor, second is the control center, and third is the effector. So, let's discuss receptor or sensors. The receptors detect changes in the body environment. They are responsible for detecting changes in the body environment. Different body mechanisms has different receptors like thermoreceptors are responsible for detecting changes in body temperature and baroreceptors are responsible for detecting changes in body blood pressure levels. Then the second point is the control center. So the control center receives the information like receptors are detecting the changes. They send signals to the control center. So the control center receives the information from receptors. They interprets it and decides what actions should be taken. An example here is the hypothalamus in temperature regulation mechanism. Then the third point is effector. So what are the responsibilities of effectors? The effector carries out the responses ordered by the control center. So example include muscles, our glands, blood vessels, etc. So together these components helps restore balance in the body. Let's look at the feedback loop. First, a stimulus causes a change in the body. The receptor detects this change and sends information to the control center. The control center analyzes the information and sends instructions to the effector. Then the effector then produces a response. And this response helps maintain or restore homeostasis in the body. This feedback loop operates continuously throughout the body. The body maintains homeostasis through two major feedback mechanisms. First is the negative feedback mechanism, and second is the positive feedback mechanism. The negative feedback is the most common mechanism in the body. It helps maintain stability, while positive feedback is less common and usually continues until a specific event is completed. Let's discuss each one. First, we will discuss negative feedback mechanism. Negative feedback mechanism reverses a change and brings a variable back towards its normal range. Whenever a change occurs, the body responds in a way that opposes that change. This helps maintain stability and prevents extreme fluctuations in the body. Most physiological control systems in the body operate through negative feedback. The characteristics of negative feedback include it is the most common feedback mechanism, as I have discussed earlier. It opposes the initial stimulus. It promotes stability. It maintains normal body function. It helps keep body variables within a healthy range. Example includes body temperature regulation, blood glucose regulation, and blood pressure regulation. Here I am giving you an example of body temperature regulation in a negative feedback mechanism. So the normal body temperature is approximately 37 degrees Celsius and 98.6 degree Fahrenheit. Body temperature may be affected by exercise, hormone, infection, environmental conditions, and metabolic activities. So when temperature changes, the body activates mechanism to restore it to normal. In temperature regulation, the variable is body temperature. The receptors are thermoreceptors that detect temperature changes. The control center is the hypothalamus, and the effectors are blood vessels and skeletal muscles. These structures work together to maintain normal temperature. Uh, let's discuss a scenario of fall in body temperature. What happens when body temperature falls below normal? Blood vessels constrict, and this process is called vasoconstriction. When blood vessels constrict, it reduces heat loss from the body. At the same time, skeletal muscles begin shivering. So, shivering also generates heat through muscle activity. So, these responses gradually increases body temperature until it returns toward normal. This diagram will summarize the entire process. For example, a drop in the body temperature acts as a stimulus. Thermoreceptor detect the change. Signals are sent to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus activates blood vessels and muscles. And due to the activity of blood vessels and muscles, as I have discussed earlier, that blood vessels starts to constrict and the muscles start shivering. So these two processes work combinedly, and the resulting response helps restore normal body temperature. Let's discuss the second example of negative feedback mechanism, which is blood pressure regulation. Blood pressure must remain within a normal range to ensure adequate blood supply to tissues and organs of the body. If blood pressure becomes too high or too low, corrective mechanisms are activated in the body. So, what happens here? Variable is increased blood pressure, receptors are baroreceptors, and control center is medulla oblongata here. Whenever our blood pressure gets too high, baroreceptor detects changes and sends it to the control center, which is medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata interprets the issue, and then it starts giving signals towards sympathetic nervous system, and it activates it, so it reduces the activity of uh, our sympathetic nervous system. By reducing the sympathetic nervous system activity, our blood vessels get dilated and our heart activity also decreases. So, due to this activity, our blood pressure gradually returns toward normal. Again, this is an example of negative feedback mechanism. A variable is increase in blood pressure. This acts here as a stimulus. Then the receptor, which are baroreceptors, they senses the change in variable. They then send signals to the control center. So, which is medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata starts sending signals to the effector, and ultimately our blood pressure decreases toward normal range. Now we will discuss the second most important topic of this lecture, is which is positive feedback mechanism. Positive feedback is a mechanism that amplifies or enhances a change rather than reversing it like negative feedback mechanism. Instead of opposing the stimulus, it strengthens it. Therefore, it is less common than negative feedback. A stimulus initiates a response. Here, the response further increases the original stimulus, and this creates a cycle that continues until a particular endpoint is reached. What are the characteristics of positive feedback mechanism? It reinforces the original stimulus. Less common than negative feedback, can be beneficial or harmful for our body. Sometimes it may be beneficial, but in some cases it may be harmful as well. May create a vicious cycle. So, what is a vicious cycle here? A vicious cycle occurs when a process continuously worsens itself. Instead of restoring balance, the response causes even greater disturbances in the body. And if the mechanism is not interrupted, serious consequences may occur. Beneficial positive feedback. Positive feedback is not always harmful, but sometimes it may be beneficial. And here we have some examples, and the examples include blood clotting, childbirth, like labor contractions, and milk ejection reflex during breastfeeding. In these situations, positive feedback helps complete an important physiological process. By enhancing the process, it is completing it. Here I am giving an example of blood clotting. So variable is blood vessel rupture, and then it starts to activate clotting factors, and it stimulates additional clotting factors, and the process continues until bleeding stops. So whenever a blood vessel is damaged, our clotting factors become activated, and the clotting factors stimulate additional clotting factors. As more factors become activated, clot formation accelerates in the body. This process continues until the bleeding stops and the vessel is sealed. Once the injury is repaired, the process ends. Here we have second example of positive feedback mechanism. Childbirth. During labor, the baby's head stretches the cervix. This stretching stimulates the release of oxytocin. Oxytocin causes stronger uterine contractions. Stronger contraction produces more cervical stretching, and this lead to even more oxytocin release. The cycle continues until the baby is delivered. Positive feedback and vicious cycle. Some positive feedback loops can be dangerous as well. Instead of helping the body, they may worsen a condition. This creates a vicious cycle where one problem leads to another, causing the situation to become progressively worse, or medical intervention is often required to stop the cycle here. Example is severe hemorrhage. In the severe hemorrhage, excessive blood loss causes blood pressure to fall. Reduced blood pressure decreases blood flow to the heart. As as the heart receives less oxygen and nutrients, it pumps less efficiently. Weaker pumping further lowers blood pressure. This continue to reduce blood flow even more. If the cycle is not interrupted through medical treatment, it may eventually lead to death. This is an example of harmful positive feedback. Okay, so clinical significance. Understanding homeostasis is extremely important for every healthcare student. It monitor patient status. It recognize disease processes. It understand physiological changes. It helps us understand physiological changes, interpret clinical findings. We will make informed treatment decisions. Many diseases result from the body's inability to maintain homeostasis. Therefore, understanding homeostasis provides a strong foundation for clinical practice. And that brings us to the end of today's lecture. I hope this video helped you understand the concept of homeostasis. If you found this lecture helpful, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.